Hey, everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most influential and controversial books of the 20th century, The Road to Serfdom by Friedrich Hayek. This book is a powerful warning against the dangers of central planning, socialism, and the erosion of individual freedom. Written during the rise of totalitarian regimes in Europe, Hayek's work remains incredibly relevant today as we continue to debate the role of government, the limits of state power, and the importance of personal liberty. Friedrich Hayek, a Nobel Prize-winning economist and philosopher, argues that centralized economic control inevitably leads to the loss of political and personal freedoms. Whether you're a student of economics, a political enthusiast, or just someone who values freedom, this book is a must-read. So, grab a notebook, sit back, and let's explore the key ideas, lessons, and takeaways from this groundbreaking book. Overview of the book. The Road to Serfdom was first published in 1944 during the height of World War II, when the world was grappling with the rise of fascism and communism. Hayek wrote the book as a warning to Western democracies, particularly Britain and the United States, about the dangers of moving towards socialism and centralized planning. The book is divided into 15 chapters, each exploring a different aspect of Hayek's argument. Hayek's central thesis is that economic planning leads to totalitarianism and that the only way to preserve individual freedom is through a free market economy and limited government. Through a mix of historical analysis, economic theory, and philosophical insights, Hayek provides a compelling case for the importance of liberty and the dangers of giving too much power to the state. Key themes and lessons. Let's break down the core lessons and themes from The Road to Serfdom. These are the ideas that have made this book a cornerstone of classical liberal thought. 1. The inevitability of central planning leading to totalitarianism. Hayek's central argument is that centralized economic planning inevitably leads to totalitarianism. He explains that when the government takes control of the economy, it must also take control of more and more aspects of people's lives to enforce its plans. This gradual erosion of freedom leads to a loss of political and personal liberties. Example: Hayek points to the rise of Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia as examples of how centralized planning leads to totalitarianism. In both cases, the government's control over the economy led to the suppression of individual freedoms and the rise of authoritarian regimes. The takeaway: central planning and socialism are not just economic systems. They are political systems that threaten individual freedom. The more power the government has over the economy, the more power it has over people's lives. 2. The importance of individual freedom. Hayek argues that individual freedom is the foundation of a prosperous and just society. He believes that freedom is not just a moral good but also a practical necessity for economic and social progress. Example: Hayek explains that in a free society, individuals are able to pursue their own goals and interests, which leads to innovation, creativity, and economic growth. In contrast, a centrally planned society stifles individual initiative and leads to stagnation. The lesson: freedom is essential for human flourishing. A society that values individual liberty is more likely to be prosperous, innovative, and just. 3. The rule of law versus arbitrary government power. Hayek emphasizes the importance of the rule of law, the idea that laws should be clear, predictable, and applied equally to everyone. He argues that the rule of law is essential for protecting individual freedom and preventing the abuse of government power. Example: Hayek contrasts the rule of law with arbitrary government power, where laws are applied inconsistently or based on the whims of those in power. He warns that when the government has the power to make arbitrary decisions, it can use that power to suppress dissent and control the population. The takeaway: the rule of law is a safeguard against tyranny. A society that values the rule of law is more likely to protect individual rights and limit government power. 4. The dangers of economic planning. Hayek argues that economic planning is inherently flawed because it assumes that a small group of planners can have the knowledge and foresight to manage the entire economy. He explains that the economy is too complex and dynamic for any central authority to effectively control. Example: Hayek uses the concept of the knowledge problem to illustrate why central planning fails. He explains that the information needed to make economic decisions is dispersed among millions of individuals and cannot be centralized. As a result, central planners are always operating with incomplete and outdated information. The lesson: economic planning is not only inefficient but also dangerous. It leads to misallocation of resources, economic stagnation, and the erosion of individual freedom. 5. The role of prices in a free market. Hayek explains that prices are a crucial mechanism for coordinating economic activity in a free market. He argues that prices convey information about supply and demand, allowing individuals and businesses to make informed decisions. Example: Hayek describes how prices act as signals in a market economy. When the price of a good rises, it signals that the good is in high demand or short supply, encouraging producers to increase production. Conversely, when the price falls, it signals that the good is in low demand or oversupplied, encouraging producers to reduce production. The takeaway: prices are essential for the efficient functioning of a market economy. Central planning disrupts price signals, leading to inefficiencies and economic distortions. 6. The myth of social justice. Hayek critiques the concept of social justice, arguing that it is often used to justify government intervention and redistribution of wealth. He believes that the idea of social justice is vague and subjective, and that it can be used to justify almost any government action. Example: Hayek explains that in a free society, individuals are rewarded based on their contributions to the market, not based on some arbitrary notion of fairness. He warns that attempts to impose social justice through government intervention often lead to unintended consequences, such as reduced incentives for work and innovation. The lesson: the pursuit of social justice through government intervention is fraught with dangers. It can lead to inefficiencies, distortions, and the erosion of individual freedom. 7. The importance of decentralized decision-making. Hayek argues that decentralized decision-making is essential for a free and prosperous society. He believes that decisions should be made by individuals and businesses, not by a central authority. Example: Hayek explains that in a decentralized system, individuals and businesses are free to experiment and innovate, leading to economic growth and progress. In contrast, a centralized system stifles innovation and leads to stagnation. The takeaway: decentralized decision-making is essential for economic and social progress. A society that values individual initiative and local control is more likely to be prosperous and free. 8. The role of competition. Hayek emphasizes the importance of competition in a free market. He argues that competition is a driving force for innovation, efficiency, and economic growth. Example: Hayek explains that competition encourages businesses to improve their products and services, reduce costs, and respond to consumer demands. In contrast, a centrally planned economy lacks competition, leading to inefficiency and stagnation. The lesson: competition is essential for a healthy economy. A society that values competition is more likely to be innovative, efficient, and prosperous. 9. The dangers of collectivism. Hayek warns against the dangers of collectivism, the idea that the group or society is more important than the individual. He argues that collectivism leads to the suppression of individual freedom and the rise of authoritarianism. Example: Hayek points to the rise of totalitarian regimes in the 20th century as examples of the dangers of collectivism. In both Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia, the state prioritized the collective over the individual, leading to the suppression of individual rights and freedoms. The takeaway: collectivism is a threat to individual freedom. A society that values the individual over the collective is more likely to be free and just. 10. The importance of moral and cultural values. Hayek argues that moral and cultural values are essential for the preservation of a free society. He believes that a society's values and traditions play a crucial role in maintaining individual freedom and limiting government power. Example: Hayek explains that a society's values and traditions provide a moral framework that guides behavior and limits the power of the state. He warns that when these values and traditions are eroded, it becomes easier for the government to expand its power and control. The lesson: moral and cultural values are essential for the preservation of freedom. A society that values tradition and morality is more likely to resist the encroachment of government power. Actionable takeaways. Now that we've covered the key lessons, let's talk about how you can apply these principles in your own life. Here are some actionable steps inspired by The Road to Serfdom. 1. Value individual freedom. Recognize the importance of individual freedom and resist policies that erode personal liberties. 2. Support the rule of law. Advocate for clear, predictable, and equally applied laws that protect individual rights and limit government power. 3. Be skeptical of central planning. Understand the dangers of centralized economic planning and support policies that promote decentralized decision-making. 4. Appreciate the role of prices. Recognize the importance of prices in a free market and oppose policies that distort price signals. 5. Question the concept of social justice. Be wary of policies that use the concept of social justice to justify government intervention and redistribution. 6. Promote decentralized decision-making. Support policies that empower individuals and local communities to make decisions, rather than central authorities. 7. Value competition. Advocate for policies that promote competition and innovation in the economy. 8. Resist collectivism. Be vigilant against ideologies that prioritize the collective over the individual and threaten individual freedom. 9. Preserve moral and cultural values. Recognize the importance of moral and cultural values in maintaining a free society and resist efforts to erode these values. 10. Educate yourself and others. Continue to learn about the principles of liberty and share this knowledge with others to promote a free and prosperous society. Criticisms and controversies. While The Road to Serfdom has been widely praised for its insights and warnings, it's not without its critics. Some argue that Hayek's critique of socialism is overly simplistic and doesn't account for the nuances of different socialist policies. Others believe that Hayek's emphasis on individual freedom overlooks the importance of addressing social and economic inequalities. However, the book's strength lies in its ability to provide a clear and compelling argument for the importance of individual freedom and the dangers of centralized control. Even if you don't agree with all of Hayek's conclusions, the book offers valuable insights into the relationship between economic systems and political freedom. Conclusion. The Road to Serfdom is a must-read for anyone who values individual freedom and wants to understand the dangers of centralized economic planning. Friedrich Hayek's powerful arguments and timeless insights make this book as relevant today as it was when it was first published. Whether you're a student of economics, a political enthusiast, or just someone who cares about freedom, this book offers valuable lessons and warnings that are essential for understanding the world we live in. If you found this summary helpful, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more book summaries and personal finance tips. Let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway from The Road to Serfdom is, or if there's another book you'd like me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.